The beacon of free speech that is X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and the unflinching supporter of free speech, Elon Musk, have canceled Don Lemon's forthcoming program on X because Don Lemon had the audacity to conduct a real interview with Elon Musk, asking real questions about who Musk is supporting in the November presidential election, Musk's alleged drug use, and other topics. And Elon Musk did not like it. We have clips and they are stunning. CNN reports Don Lemon says Elon Musk canceled his deal with X after a tense interview. And indeed, Elon Musk has launched what Mediaite describes as a bizarre attack on Don Lemon, tweeting that his approach was basically CNN on social media, which doesn't work. This is Elon Musk saying, what it turned out that Don Lemon wanted to do was CNN on social media. It doesn't work. And, and it's important to mention that the cancellation is that it was going to be like a promoted kind of sponsored ad revenue program. He being Don Lemon is still allowed to post the content to X like everybody else, but it's not going to be a contractual deal, as was said. So let's look at some clips of this. I don't think it'll shock anybody in my audience to hear that free speech absolutist Elon Musk is not as big on speech that puts him in a position to have to answer real questions. I'm not even calling them tough questions. Like, do you use drugs? Is not a tough question. Who are you supporting in November is not a tough question. And I will even fill in some of the blanks with what Elon Musk could have said rather than getting angry at the interviewer, which never looks good. All right, let's start with clip number 1, which is, why is this interview even taking place?
Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think, do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
I couldn't care less, by the way. We need to say it right. I want this phrase said correctly. So for the framework for the interview, the baseline is already, this isn't even an interview I would consider doing. It's sort of like an attack on Don Lemon. Like, this isn't even worthy. You're not even worthy of my time, except for the fact that, like, we're doing this show with you on X. And so I kind of like feel a little bit obligated to be here, but not exactly like a great start. Okay, so then we go to the topic of hate speech. And Don Lemon brings up correctly that since Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, now X, the number of tweets, or as we now call them, excretions, that have hate speech in them has gone up dramatically. And Elon Musk, all of a sudden, now he is a free speech absolutist when it's convenient. Elon Musk hasn't exactly done much to curb the rise in hate speech. Another topic that Elon Musk really doesn't seem to want to talk about.
Hate speech on the platform is up. Do you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform? That you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Democrats?
I don't have to answer these questions.
The Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think, do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
Okay, so we're only getting a little bit more of that part in this clip that was released last night, but the context was hate speech. And Elon Musk's position is basically he just doesn't have to answer to anyone. And this is the epitome of the entitled billionaire. He's entitled to be entitled. Anybody's entitled to be or feel entitled. Whether everybody around you will kowtow to that and placate you is a different question. And listen, again, this isn't about, oh my God, this is the most groundbreaking interview that Don Lemon is doing. Musk doesn't usually subject himself to these sorts of questions. They're pretty obvious questions. Don Lemon had the audacity, and I use that term very loosely, to ask them because they are obvious questions. Instead of sending Linda Yaccarino out, I'm going to ask you the questions because you're here. And the thin-skinned nature, and we see this with Trump, we see this with others, other rich guys, they're extraordinarily thin-skinned. the topic of drug use came up, and Elon Musk's drug use. There are concerns at all of Elon Musk's companies, Tesla, SpaceX, etc., that his sometimes extreme micromanagement and involvement is tinged and affected by his drug use. And there's a big Wall Street Journal report about a lot of drug use. And listen, I don't even care. The legality of it makes no difference to me, but it is certainly a question if you're subjecting employees at all of these different places to unreasonable demands and et cetera, as he has been accused of doing. If it's all being influenced by being high a lot of the time, that's certainly a relevant story. These are publicly traded companies. The topic comes up and okay, let's see what Elon Musk says about the drug use.
You talk about your ketamine use and depression. You also have said, and
the reason I should say, the reason I mentioned the ketamine prescription on the X platform was because I thought maybe this is something that could help other people. That's why I mentioned it. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to their doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
That's completely reasonable, by the way. And we've actually done serious interviews about the possible uses of ketamine therapeutically, et cetera. But of course, the real issue here are the allegations, including the very, very solid piece in the Wall Street Journal. Was it the Wall Street? I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I hope I'm right about that, which I know many of you have read, about Elon Musk's rampant drug use. And it's not a value judgment. These are just questions. This is an interview. And Elon Musk really ends up proving his critics right when he ends up being so unwilling to, in a serious manner, engage with a lot of the substance here. Okay, one more clip here. And this one is about Donald Trump and who Elon Musk is supporting. We have to, let's see if I can get this exactly right, because I don't want the audience to miss a moment of this insanity. Here, the topic of Elon Musk's political preferences comes up.
Trump.
You recently met with Donald Trump in Florida. What did you guys talk about?
I was at a breakfast at a friend's place, and Donald Trump came by. That's it.
What did you discuss?
I don't. Let's just say he did most of the talking.
Did he ask you for money?
He didn't.
Are you going to loan him money to help pay his legal bills?
I'm not paying his legal bills in any way, shape, or form.
Did he ask you for a donation?
No.
Are you leaning towards anyone?
No.
You're not leaning towards anyone? Because you've been very...
Well, let me say I'm leaning away from Biden.
You're leaning...
Leaning away from Biden. All right, so listen, this was a completely standard interview. What this temper tantrum from Elon Musk over this interview confirms is the pathetically low standards for journalism that too many have become accustomed to in this country. Listen, I don't want to pinpoint, but to some degree in the UK, certainly in Spain, France, Greece, Argentina, where I regularly consume this sort of content. This isn't even a tough interview. This is barely a serious interview in the sense that these are obvious, predictable questions based on what's in the media. Anybody should expect to be asked this stuff. Elon Musk apparently, because he had, signed Don Lemon to this contract for putting his content for the new Don Lemon show on X, apparently expected a total softball interview. Tell me how great self-driving is on Teslas, or whatever. And that's not the interview he got, but it shouldn't be even interpreted that this is a really difficult interview or that these were sandbaggy type questions. And so what we learned is Elon Musk's critics are right. He's extraordinarily thin-skinned. He's very erratic. And with every single one of these questions, there are answers that you can give answers that don't expose you more than you want to be exposed, but that don't come off as actually not liking speech when it's even remotely, it's not even critical. It's just examining your beliefs. Hate speech on the platform. I am completely against it. Please understand that there are X number of excretions posted every single day. I have an entire team working on this, and we are going to improve Oh, okay. I mean, that's a specific, it could be total BS in the sense of his intention to reduce hate speech, but at least you're saying, here's the system that we have in place. Drug use. Listen, my personal drug use is less the issue here. My primary concerns are the war on drugs. We should really be decriminalizing. There are really great opportunities to explore ketamine for therapeutic uses, period. Say, I'm not going to go into my personal drug use and not getting reactive in this way. Asked about Trump. Listen, I run a number of businesses that both depend on government contracts like SpaceX, and my mission to bring electric vehicles to everybody is not a partisan mission. Starting to make public statements about electoral politics and my preferences would be antagonistic to my broader goal of getting off of gas-powered vehicles. So I'm not going to do it. That's a fine answer, right? And instead it's attack the interviewer and I wouldn't be doing this interview and now you're canceled. Total misfire and avoidable, importantly. As many people know, I'm a white ale type of guy when it comes to beer. And even for those of us who drink responsibly, like me, sometimes you still feel it the next day and it can slow you down, especially when you start to get up there in the years like me. Check out our sponsor ZBiotics, which is a probiotic drink created by PhD microbiologists. ZBiotics breaks down the byproduct of alcohol, which is responsible for some of those feelings the day after. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. This byproduct, not dehydration, is to blame for how you feel the next day. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in the gut where you need it most. You drink a tiny bottle of ZBiotics before having any alcohol. You then drink responsibly, get a good night's sleep, and you will feel great the next day. ZBiotics works for so many people. Read the reviews online. Go to zbiotics.com/Pacman and you'll get 15% off your first order when you use code Pacman at checkout. The link is down below.